Hi, how you doing?
Good. Can I start by seeing your ID?
Get the details on changes coming to Iowa's election process. Plus, area restaurants team up to take a bite out of national delivery services.
It's 100% local.
And finally, learn some simple steps to getting your bike ready for the spring. And it all starts right now on this edition of Iowa City in Focus. Elections may feel like a ways off yet, but with primary races, you'll be heading to the polls sooner than you think. And with new voter ID laws being implemented here in Iowa, now is the time to make sure you understand the requirements in order to have your vote counted.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Can I start by seeing your ID?
There are some major changes taking place at election sites across Iowa. For the first time ever, you will now be required to show a valid form of ID in order to vote. This change is coming in phases, so let's break it down. Beginning in 2018, you will need to show identification at the polls. There are 6 different forms of valid ID. Those include an Iowa driver's license, an Iowa non-operator's ID, a military ID, a veteran's ID, passport, or a new state-issued voter ID card.
Go ahead and scan your ID.
Okay. Oh, driver's license, okay?
Is it from the state of Iowa?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, and can I take a look at it?
The Secretary of State issued and mailed out over 120,000 state-issued voter ID cards for all registered voters who do not have an ID issued through the Iowa Department of Transportation. If you did not receive a voter ID card and don't have any of the other forms of identification we listed, you need to contact your county auditor. They can also assist you if you lost or misplaced your ID card. Once you've received a voter ID card, sign it and place it in a safe location. So what happens if you show up on election day without an ID? In 2018, the voter ID law only takes partial effect. During this year only, anyone without the necessary identification will be asked to sign an oath verifying their identity. That person will still be allowed to cast a regular ballot.
Here's your ballot. You can just take it over there, fill it out, and once you're done voting, you can take it over to that tabulator and put your voted ballot in there.
The law takes full effect January 1st, 2019. Then, if voters don't have a required form of ID, they have a few options. First option is to bring an attester with you, meaning a person who is willing to attest to the voter's identity. An attester must be able to provide one of the accepted forms of ID. By signing the document, the attester accepts that providing false information is a Class D felony, punishable by potential jail time and a fine between $750 and $7,500. The second option is to provide proof of identity and proof of residency, the same as if registering to vote for the first time. Proof of identity can include out-of-state driver's license or an employer or student ID with an expiration date. Proof of residency is typically a utility bill, lease, or pay stub. If neither of those options work, the voter may cast a provisional ballot, which will only be counted if the voter can provide a valid ID before the Monday after an election. We've gone over the different ways to vote in person, but absentee ballots also now require an ID. Beginning in 2018, part of the request form for an absentee ballot requires you to include a driver's license number or non-driver's ID number. Those with voter ID cards must include their card's 4-digit PIN number. You can download the application for absentee voting online, but it must be filled out and returned to your county auditor in order for a ballot to be mailed to you. Or you can complete absentee voting in person at your county auditor's office during the allotted time period. Another change coming in 2018 is a shorter window for absentee voting. The number of days to vote absentee in person is now 29 days, which is condensed from the previous 40-day window. And if you're requesting to receive your ballot by mail, the request form must be received by the county auditor's office by the Friday 11 days before the election. When the request is for a general election, it must be turned in by the Saturday 10 days before the election. So it's important to be aware of the deadlines to get registered and take advantage of absentee voting. These changes will impact all Iowans, so make sure your voice is heard by understanding them in advance of the next election cycle. The Secretary of State website lists all the rules and deadlines. Just head to sos.iowa.gov. Another great resource is the Iowa State Association of County Auditors. There you can find voting information, as well as contact information for your local county auditor's office. And if you need assistance with translation services or have accessibility concerns, you can reach out to your county auditor to make arrangements. By following these tips, you can make sure that your voice is heard. Be informed, be prepared, and participate.
It's a best practices grant. They want to be able to provide us with everything we need to have the best practices, give us all the programs we need, give us the policies, have officers in the practice of doing the best that we can do with domestic assault, sexual assault, and stalking, and then demonstrate to the country how we did it and how they can replicate our performance in these areas. Working better to address domestic abuse and sexual assault and stalking, it's a constant uphill battle with law enforcement. I think that what this grant is going to do is allow us the opportunity to implement those best practices and put forward the models that are going to be followed by other communities. The money we're going to be receiving will basically give us an unlimited amount of resources to do what's necessary to assess our current practices, programs that we have in place, study them and find out what needs there are that exist, what things we're doing that could maybe be improved, and what things we have going that are working well. To work to eliminate those biases can help address things like domestic abuse, sexual assault, especially in underserved communities. The LGBTQ community might see a greater effect of gender bias where it exists. We would like to end domestic violence. Will that ever happen? No, probably not, but we can do the best we can, and we're proud to have the opportunity with this grant to put forward best practices to demonstrate to the rest of the state, to the rest of the country really, how it is we can perform and the great service that we can bring to our community.
Ordering food from your phone is a common practice these days, but what you may not know is that just a few months ago, many Iowa City restaurants were close to pulling the plug on that option. But by teaming up for a common cause, a group of owners have found a solution for the costly problem.
Hello.
Hey, this is Taylor. I'm your CHOMP driver today. I'm going to be pulling up outside in just a minute if you want to come on down to the front door.
The surge in the food delivery industry can be correlated to the ease of online ordering.
The delivery service is a great concept.
And the Iowa City food scene has benefited from the innovation.
DP Dough is about 50% delivery.
Over the years, it's grown to be a pretty significant percentage of our sales.
It really increased our sales. I think it opened up a whole new demographic to us.
But as the popularity of third-party delivery systems grew, so did the demand for larger profits from those companies.
It always happens. I mean, the big company comes up and gobbles it up, and they just go ahead and start marking things up without even knowing what the territory is.
This past year, the National Food Delivery Service offered in Iowa City raised rates on both customers and restaurants. That put business owners in a difficult position.
I mean, the only recourse you would have would be for the restaurants to all raise their rates, their menu prices by 10 or 20%. And no restaurant owner likes the idea of that.
The way they put it, we'll be raising your rates only by 10%, which basically means that would leave us no margin for profit. We basically just be giving the food away.
A lot of people don't understand that these percentages, 1%, 2%, I mean, those are tens of thousands of dollars when you get to the volume that we're doing. So when it jumps 4% or 6%, it's a huge jump.
For many local restaurants, the business model was no longer sustainable.
The profit margin is just a few percentage points. So at that point I decided, well, we'll just stop doing deliveries.
But John, who already had a delivery staff at DP Dough, started having conversations with other restaurant owners about organizing a local delivery service with the model of a co-op in mind.
I never really had to sell this to anybody. It was more or less I would sit down with them and say, we're thinking of starting our own delivery business, and this is kind of how I think it might work. And within 10 to 15 minutes, they were saying, I want to be part of this.
If they had those resources that we could all pull together and use, it seemed like a no-brainer.
From those conversations, the concept of CHOMP Delivery was born.
19 of us pooled some money and basically started our own delivery service.
we realized that, you know, we could do this better. There's got to be a better way, and there's no reason that we can't do this ourselves on a local level.
The investors pooled together resources to create an app and website, set up a downtown office, and develop the business model. Similar to other third-party delivery services, drivers are independent contractors who can set their own hours.
There you are.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
What's different is the staff who oversees the dispatch of the orders and deals with any customer complaints or concerns.
It's not somebody who's 2 states away and doesn't know the area. We're intimately familiar with the owners of all the restaurants, with some of the staff at the restaurants, with the drivers that are taking the order, and I think that it allows us to address customer service issues much more effectively and much quicker.
And because the company is run by business owners, the stakes are high for the investors.
We have more skin in the game, so we're pushing it, and we want to make sure that we're held to a higher standard.
Not only does CHOMP offer lower service rates for restaurants, the delivery charge for customers is less as well.
We turned kind of a for-profit model into a public utility that's owned and operated by the users.
Even though the business is just getting started, the support so far has been overwhelming.
The growth has been very fast. We're at the point where we're doing about 300 orders a day. We did not envision seeing that type of activity until maybe late spring or next fall.
And with 70 restaurants and counting being offered on its platform, that growth is likely to continue.
There you are. Have a good one.
I hope you're busy.
Oh, we are.
For many of the restaurants in town, CHOMP is proof that local is better.
Well, sometimes as a small business owner, you feel like you get pushed around, you get bullied by the big guy. You know, this is our chance to kind of stand up and say, no, we can do this ourselves. We can, you know, we can make this work ourselves.
Each year we try and make it a little bit bigger, a little bit better. We just have so many people that help with this, the community and everyone. It's just a great cause, and hey, come on out and plunge with us.
It's a year-long activity for us. We also get to go out and meet the athletes at the winter banquet when they come to our area and they use our facilities here. So it's really beneficial to see like all the hard work and the support the community gives, and we get to see the athletes and how it benefits them directly.
If your bike's been in storage for the winter and/or you just haven't ridden it for a while, it's probably a good idea to check it over before you go for your first ride, both for safety and routine maintenance.
The most basic bike check is your ABCs: air, brakes, chain. When a bike sits for a while, the tires are likely to be low on air. Check the pressure listed on the side of your tire and fill them to the proper level.
Your brake pads should press firmly against the rim when activated. Check to make sure that they aren't loose and that they're functioning properly. Replace worn pads and adjust the cable if it's too far from the rim.
Lastly, lube up your chain. Apply a dry lubricant to the chain and wipe the excess lubricant off, both to keep it off your clothes and so it won't collect dirt and dust.
Along with your ABCs, check other parts of your bike as well, including lights, reflectors, fenders, racks, etc.
Routinely checking this list will help keep your bike in great, safe working condition, especially if it hasn't been used for a while.
Happy cycling!
Next time on Iowa City in Focus, we delve into Phase 2 of an effort to restore these 100-year-old cabins. Get a behind-the-scenes look at how experts are bringing new life to these historic homes. And let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future shows. Email us at info@citychannel4.com or reach us on Facebook by liking the City of Iowa City government page. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next month with another edition of Iowa City in Focus.